We live surrounded by constant noise, from the traffic and noise of the city to the incessant bombardment of notifications, news, and stimuli that reach us from everywhere. And although it may not seem like it, the most exhausting noise is usually the one we carry inside. That mental radio that never turns off, and that doesn't stop commenting, planning, worrying, or judging everything we do. It's a murmur that robs us of our energy and prevents us from feeling truly at peace. But what if I told you that in the midst of all that chaos, you already possess the most powerful tool to find calm? It is not something you have to go looking for outside. It is a quality that already resides in you, waiting to be rediscovered: the power of silence. We often think of silence as something empty, uncomfortable, or boring. But in the Buddhist tradition, silence is the complete opposite. It is a refuge, a space of clarity, and a source of deep wisdom. It is the gateway to our own inner calm. That's why today we're going to explore 5 Buddhist teachings to learn how to use the power of silence in your day-to-day life. It's not about escaping the world, but about learning to find an oasis of peace within yourself, no matter the noise outside. We will go through each of these keys together, and at the end, we will do a simple guided practice together that you can use at any time to cultivate silence. And before we begin, I invite you to save this video to have it on hand. Give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to continue delving into these teachings. Let's get started. First teaching: silence as a refuge. The first teaching invites us to completely change our perception of silence. In our culture, we often see silence as a void to be filled, an uncomfortable pause in a conversation, or even a sign that something is wrong. But Buddhist philosophy offers us a radically different perspective. Silence is not an absence, but a presence. It is an active refuge, a space of calm that we can intentionally turn to in order to regain clarity and peace. We treat silence as if it were a luxury, something we can only find in a distant retreat or in the middle of nature. But this noble silence does not depend on what happens outside. It is an inner quality that we can cultivate at any time and in any place. It is the conscious decision to turn off the mental radio, to stop analyzing, judging, and planning restlessly, even if only for a few moments. This silence is an act of sovereignty over our own mind. It is reminding ourselves that we are not obliged to follow every thought that appears. Imagine you are in the middle of a chaotic workday. The phone won't stop ringing, messages are piling up, and the pressure is mounting. The automatic reaction is to speed up, to try to do everything at once, which only generates more stress and mental noise. The practice of noble silence here would be as simple as stopping for just 1 minute. You look away from the screen, close your eyes if you can, and bring all your attention to the simple act of breathing. You don't try to solve anything. You don't plan the next step. You simply dwell in that small space of silence. By doing so, you are not wasting time. You are creating a refuge that allows you to return to your tasks with a clearer and more serene mind. The Buddhist teachings show us that this practice is as fundamental as reflection or study. In fact, it is said that when practitioners gathered, the advice was clear. They either had a conversation on deep and beneficial topics, or they cultivated noble silence. It was a recognition that in order to listen to our own inner wisdom, we first have to create the space for it to be heard. So the first invitation is to treat silence as a friend, as an always available refuge. You don't have to go anywhere to find it. It's right here, just below the noise of your thoughts, waiting for you to decide to return to it. Second teaching, the silence of the heart. Once we begin to quiet the noise of the world, the Buddhist teachings invite us to go a step further toward a deeper and more healing silence, the silence of the heart. This silence focuses on the most persistent and exhausting noise we experience, that of afflictive emotions. We are talking about the incessant monologue of resentment, the agitation of anger, the constant vibration of ill will or judgment towards others and ourselves. When someone hurts or disappoints us, it's very easy for the mind to get stuck in a loop. We replay the scene over and over, feeding the resentment and rehearsing arguments we'll never say. This internal dialogue is a deafening noise that robs us of our peace, keeping us tied to the past and to negativity. The silence of the heart is the art of dissolving that noise, not by fighting against it, but by actively replacing it with a quality of warmth and benevolence. Imagine you've had a big argument with a loved one. For days, you feel a knot in your stomach and your mind can't stop replaying it, generating anger and sadness. The practice here is to stop and, instead of continuing to feed the internal conflict, bring a hand to your chest and deliberately generate a desire for peace. First, towards yourself, and then, with time and practice, extend that desire to the other person. This gesture does not deny the pain, but it stops fanning the flames of resentment. Little by little, the noise of hostility is replaced by the silent vibration of goodwill. Buddhist philosophy considers this practice, known as metta or loving kindness, as fundamental. The teachings encourage us to cultivate a boundless heart towards all beings, free from malice and hatred. By enveloping our mind in this quality of protective kindness, the noise of the heart simply dissolves. Not because we force it to be quiet, but because it no longer has a place to nest. Third teaching, the silence of not wandering. From the calm of the heart, the next teaching brings us back to the world of our words, but with a new perspective. It is about cultivating the silence of not wandering, that is, consciously refraining from idle talk. This is the noise we generate ourselves, often without realizing it. Gossip, repetitive complaining, impulsive opinions about everything and everyone, or simply talking to fill a silence that we find uncomfortable. Although it may seem harmless, this constant flow of unnecessary words is one of the biggest drains on our mental energy. Every day we lose a huge amount of our serenity in trivial conversations, in debates that lead nowhere, or in criticizing situations we cannot change. This habit of speaking without purpose agitates the mind and accustoms it to a state of superficiality. Then, when we try to meditate or simply be at peace, the mind doesn't know how to stop because it is used to constantly producing noise. Practicing this silence is, therefore, an act of self-care and recovery of our own energy. It is valuing our inner peace above the need to comment on everything. The training ground for this practice is our daily life. For example, you are having coffee with colleagues and the conversation turns to criticism of a person who is not present. The almost automatic impulse is to join in, add a detail, give your opinion. The practice consists of recognizing that impulse and deliberately not following it. You don't have to be blunt or seem antisocial. You can simply listen without intervening or kindly change the subject. This small act of restraint creates a space of silence that protects your mind from negativity and prevents you from contributing to its spread. This is an essential part of ethical training in Buddhism, known as right speech. The teachings explain that idle talk is a direct obstacle to calm, as it disturbs serenity and concentration. So the invitation of this teaching is simple. Start to notice how many of your words are really necessary, and choose from time to time the power of not contributing to the noise. Fourth teaching, the silence that connects us. The fourth teaching reveals to us that the goal of silence is not simply to be quiet, but to be able to truly connect with life as it is in the present moment. Most of the time, we do not experience reality directly. We live it through a constant filter, a layer of thoughts that narrates, labels, and judges everything that happens to us. We don't just see a sunset. We think, how beautiful. I should take a picture. I wonder if my friends will like it. I wish it would last longer. We are not seeing the sunset. We are thinking it. This internal monologue, however subtle, creates a distance between us and the living, real experience of each moment. And silence is the tool that allows us to dissolve that filter. The practice is incredibly simple, and you can do it the next time you drink a glass of water. The usual thing would be to do it on autopilot while the mind is already on the next task or lost in a worry. The silence that connects consists in deciding just for that moment to be fully present. You let go of the internal narration and instead you open yourself to the direct sensory experience. You feel the temperature of the glass in your hand. You see the light through the water. You notice the sensation of the liquid in your mouth and as you swallow. In that brief moment of silent attention, there is no past and no future. There are no problems to solve or goals to achieve. There is only the simple and peaceful reality of drinking water. This is the connection. It is the bridge that brings us back home to the only place where life really happens, the here and now. It is a deep calm that is always available to us when we stop narrating life and start living it. Fifth teaching, silence as supreme wisdom. We have traveled through the different layers of silence, that of words, that of the heart, and that of the mind. Now we come to the culminating teaching, the one that reveals silence not only as a tool for calm, but as the highest expression of wisdom. There are moments and questions in life so great that no verbal answer is sufficient. In those situations, silence ceases to be a simple pause and becomes the answer itself. There is a story in the Buddhist tradition that illustrates this perfectly. It is said that once some of the greatest and most eloquent sages gathered in an assembly to debate non-duality, the ultimate nature of reality. One by one, each sage offered a brilliant explanation. Life and liberation are one and the same thing, said one. Good and evil are not separate, explained another. Each answer was a gem of logic and poetry. Finally, they all turned to the wisest of all and asked for his definition. There was great anticipation in the room. Everyone was waiting for the definitive word that would solve the mystery. But this sage said nothing. He simply remained in absolute, full, and resonant silence. His reaction was hailed as the most profound teaching of all, a silent thunder that explained everything without saying anything. And that is because not using a single syllable, a single sound, or a single idea was the only possible way to express the concept of non-duality. What does this story teach us? That the deepest wisdom does not always come in the form of analysis, data, or complex explanations. There are things that cannot be expressed with words, and that wisdom can only arise when the engine of thought stops. When we face the great challenges and questions of life, often the most healing answer is not to use the mind. When we face pain, loss, or uncertainty, sometimes the best thing is to simply coexist with it in a state of openness, in the silent and compassionate space of our heart. Today, we have walked a path to calmness, exploring these 5 deep teachings together. To recap, first, we discovered silence as a refuge, learning that it is not a void, but an inner space of peace we can always turn to. Second, we explored the silence of the heart, understanding how, through benevolence, we can dissolve the inner noise of resentment and hostility, transforming emotional turmoil into a protective calm. Third, we practiced the silence of not wandering, understanding the importance of avoiding idle chatter so as not to waste our mental energy and thus cultivate a more serene and focused mind. Fourth, we found the silence that connects us, realizing that by ceasing to narrate and judge every experience, silence allows us to connect directly with the richness of the present moment. And finally, we understood silence as supreme wisdom, because the most important truths of life cannot always be explained with words, but are revealed in stillness. And now, so you don't leave with just theory, let's practice together. We will go through a simple guided meditation together that you can use at any time to cultivate silence. When you have a moment, I invite you to find a comfortable position. Close your eyes and take a deep, gentle breath, releasing any tension as you exhale. If at this moment you feel any kind of agitation, whether it's the urge to say something, to plan, or to judge, simply pause. You don't have to fight that impulse, just acknowledge it, and with your next exhale, imagine letting it go. Consciously choose, just for this moment, silence. Now bring your attention to the center of your chest, to the area of your heart, and without forcing anything, awaken a gentle desire for well-being. Repeat internally, "May I be at peace." Feel that phrase not as a thought, but as a warm, silent vibration that embraces you from within. To finish, simply return to the sensation of your body. Notice the contact with the chair or the floor. Feel the air entering and leaving your nostrils. There is nothing to analyze, nothing to understand, just being here in this refuge of silence that has always been with you. Take one more breath, and when you are ready, gently open your eyes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me in this reflection. I hope these teachings serve as a reminder that no matter the noise outside, you can always find a space of calm within yourself. Now I would love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 teachings on silence has resonated with you the most today? Your experience can be of great help to other people on this path. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone who you think it might help find a little peace. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episodes. Thank you for your time and for your practice. See you in the next video.